Anatomy. Artists have heard it, and artists have a mini nightmare over this wonderful little thing called anatomy. Everyone's scared of it, nobody knows what it is. Anytime we go to learn about anatomy, us artists are bombarded by things like, ooh, you should know what the sartorius muscle is. Ooh, have you heard about the pectoralis major and minor? What about the sartorius? Do you know where the latissimus dorsi connects and terminates? Well, most of that's not important. Most. Oh, actually, a lot of that stuff is really important, and you should know it. But, I know you know jack shit. to put it nicely. So, what do you do about that? Well, it's pretty simple. Okay, so this here is the human skeleton. This thing right here terrifies most artists, because it's spooky. Nothing else. No. Because anytime you get advice from better artists than you, they're always like, ooh, first of all, learn your forms, and learn some anatomy, or basic proportions, something of this sort. And when you start to get around anatomy, the first thing you'll understand you should be learning is, well, the skeleton. And they have a good point. This is really intimidating to just hop in and try and learn from this thing right here. There's all these little burns, there's all these little ill things, all these vertebrae, all these ribs. There's here the sternum, the top of the sternum, this top part of the sternum is called the manubrium, into the gladiolus, into the xiphoid process, which then connects to the clavicles, which then heads into the acromion process, where the scapula and humerus connect, and the humerus is then connected to the ulna, which is also connected. Well, the humerus is also connected to the radialis, which then connects to the hand of the carpals and the metacarpals, and stuff like that. You also have all the vertebrae that make up the spine go into the pelvis of the ilium, into the back here the sacrum, and into the coccyx. Everyone loves the coccyx. Which then goes into the femur, which then goes into the patella, which then goes into the tibia, and then the fibula, that then goes into the I didn't even know what it's called. Into the calcaneus, into blah 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 blah. Right? There's a lot of stuff. And after you do the burns, guess what happens next? Ooh, there's a bunch of muscles as well as that. Ooh, here's the serratus anterior. Ooh, here's the pectoralis major. Then you have the pectoralis minor. Then you have the biceps brachii. I click on the one thing there that isn't the biceps brachii. The biceps brachii. That then goes into the brachioradialis, right? Into the flexor digitorum superficialis. Into the, what was this called again? Yes. The pronator teres, into the infra pronatus, into the teres minor, and then the teres major. And then we also have the triceps, the lateral head, the medial head. And here is the gluteus medius into the gluteus maximus, and there's also the minimus, but on this thing it doesn't show it up very well. And then we have into the hamstrings, into the sartorius, into the rectus longus, I think. No, femoris, fuck. Into the lateralis, vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, tibialis anterior. That's what it was called. Into the latissimus dorsi, into the trapezius, into the sternocleidomastoid, into the masseter. Nope, that's cranium. Into the masseter superior, and then we have all the other stuff. Right? There's a bunch. It's very intimidating, right? Oh, how did I forget about the external? How could I forget about the external obliques and the rectus abdominis, right? How did I even forget about that stuff? And then we have the Fatso's favorite, the tensor fasciae latae, and then we have the abductor longus, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. Actually, I have no idea what this muscle over here is called. The iliac costialis. Because it probably connects to the costals. Yep, costals just meaning ribs. Basically, there's a lot of stuff here. Long story short. And the way, it's not just remembering each one of these muscle name groups, right? You don't only have to remember that stuff. You also have to remember how they connect, where they connect, what is their function, what is their purpose, and how to actually draw them, right? It's just not enough knowing the muscles and how they connect and where they connect. You also have to know how they look while connecting, right? And how they change with movement. There is a lot here. There is a lot. And some people dedicate their lives to this stuff. And we call those people crazy. I'm a bit crazy myself. Sorry. Long story short, this is just not practicable for you beginner artists, or intermediates, or intermediate advanced artists. You're not going to remember all these muscles, right? Look at how much there are. Too many. And then you have to also like factor in skin and stuff, and eyeballs, and then the chesticles, and boom. And then you have to think about how like the skin and fat and everything else covers up everything, how different things, work. Oh, thank goodness you were wearing pants. Whew. There is a lot. How do we turn all this erroneous and overwhelming information into something useful? What information do you need to go from 0 to being able to draw this? That quickly and that easily? Well, it's actually quite simple, really. None of that stuff about the pectoralis major, minor, deltoid, brachioradialis, about the serratus anterior, about the sartorius, about the sternocleidomastoid was going around in my head. No. It's nice stuff to have, nice little tidbits of information to have, but you don't think about that when you're drawing. This is what 90% of the time I have to think about to draw anatomy. Things like this, out of my mind with no reference. What do you need to draw cool poses like this without any reference, without any of the slowdowns and complete freedom? What do you need? Well, I'll tell you what you need. Number 1, constructing the torso. The torso is where all the little body parts, all the little muscles, all the little bones, and all the other things originate on the human body. So one might think it would be a really important thing not to mess up. And yet what do we see constantly over and over again with beginner artists and intermediates and advanced, and honestly everyone can improve on this? Well, it's the torso, the base in which everything on the human body connects, from the head to the legs and everything else in between. Everything originates from the torso. Holy moly, that's one ugly head and neck. Why did no one tell me anything? So, if we are to bring back up Jeremy from the start, boom, say hello to Jeremy, what do we see about the torso? What are the main parts of the torso? We might as well learn them now so we don't have to remember and forget about them later, right? Alright, so as we can see right here on Jeremy, or whatever I named him, has, as we can see right here, a rib cage that is attached to a spine that then is attached to a pelvis. This down here is called the pelvis, rib cage, and the thing connecting them back here is the spine. Woo! If we dress up James, we can see that a lot of these features are now covered. However, they're still there, and they still exist. Now, connecting the rib cage to the pelvis down here, which you now cannot see with all the muscles, but it's very important that you remember it's there, is called the abdominal region. This is made out of the obliques, out of the rectus abdominis, and on the back is made out of the latissimus dorsi, the erector muscles, and other stuff. Not important. Now, this is what you have to remember. What's one way that we can simply represent all these 3 features that you can never forget? Never forget this. So, for the rib cage, we can have an egg. A bit of an oblong egg, which we cut out a little notch at the front. These 3 features you can never forget. It's very simple. Egg for the rib cage, cylinder for the torso, and a box for the pelvis. Boom, and boom. Alright, that's enough of that for now. On to the next piece of information that you need to remember: how to construct a limb. Now, as you might know, the human body has 4 limbs. 4. That's a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4. A very big number. I start to lose count at that point, right? 1, 2, 3, I forgot the last one. Sorry. That's why we're only learning 1. Luckily for us humans, and most animals really, most of our limbs actually operate in a very similar way. Here, let's bring up Jonathan once more. Let's look at one of his limbs right here. We can see that there's one part here where there's 1 bone, and then there's a second part of his arm where there's 2 bones, and it leads into a wrist. And we can see that the arm originates from a part of the torso. So you can see this. Let's look at one of his legs. Let's look at Jeremiah's legs. You can see 1 big bone, followed by 2 little bones, followed by an appendage, in this case the foot. Boom! You can see how a limb is constructed. Basically, from the body, from a nice little ribcage, a limb comes out from the body, one way or another. It comes out in one part, then there's another part that then connects to a little appendage at the end. I like to simplify it as a box, because I'm lazy, and fingers scare me. And then you can see how the leg here is just same as the arm, just one segment, two segment, then appendage. That's simple. And it all originates from one corner of the torso. Simple as. You can't make it simpler than that. If you can't remember this, you can't remember your home address, and you have bigger problems than art. So, you might be now yelling at me, "Hey, Lupter, but this doesn't look like anything, and it sure doesn't, and it sure as hell doesn't look anything like that. How do you get from that weird mannequin to this guy?" Well, thank you for your input. Thank you very much. Sadly, I need you to shut up. But this is where that brings us to my third point. Point number 3. This is how you connect all this amazing information all into one place, and you make that weird, silly little mannequin we had from before into something looking a bit more like naked people. Our one and only goal as artists. Did I remember all the muscles, all the burns, and all the other stuff before I was able to do that stuff? Yes, I did. It's because I'm a massive nerd. However, do you need to do this? Absolutely not. I did it so you don't have to. After all, you see some little commonalities, small little tidbits here and there, and I think I found the road into nirvana. How to do all this intuitively and, importantly, easily. All without reference, without having to consult an anatomy chart anytime you want to draw your cute anime girls. So, listen up. I know you, and I'm not impressed. So, after you know how each segment moves, here's the second piece of information that you need to know. Muscles can only pull. They cannot push, they can only pull. That's really important information. So, by knowing these two pieces of information, how each segment moves, and that muscles can only pull, use your brain. For each type of movement, there has to be a corresponding muscle to move that segment that way, right? Let's take the elbow, the simplest joint in the human body. It's just a hinge joint. The elbow, for now, the elbow can only bend. Look at that production quality right there. And straighten. Bend and straighten. That's all it can do. Well, there's also the pronation and supination, but you don't need to know about that just yet. And we know that muscles can only pull. And we know that there's a joint right here. Roundabout. So, let's think about levers for a quick second. If this is an elbow. So this is the arm. This here is the forearm. Professional. To contract this elbow even further, where would a muscle need to connect? Well, it would have to connect somewhere on here and connect somewhere that is either on here or somewhere off it, right? So there needs to be a muscle that pulls the elbow inwards. Now that we have to straighten it, what can we do to straighten out this elbow? Very simple. We just have another muscle right here that's connected to the other side of the forearm that then pulls it this way. Immediately, we know that there needs to be two different types of muscles on the arm. One on the inside that pulls the muscle that pulls the forearm in, and one that then pulls it the other way. So let's pull up our reference. Let's pull up Joanne. Look at that. There are muscles on the inside here of the arm that pull the elbow inwards, and there are muscles on the outside of the arm called the triceps that then extend the arm. Boom! That's how easy. So let's apply that logic to other parts of the body. How about the shoulder now? The shoulder, what are the ways that it can move? The shoulder can move, so basically it can move up, it can move down, it can move forward, it can move backward. So we need muscles that can pull the shoulder forward, backward, up, and then back down, back towards the body. That's the axis of movement for the shoulder. And we know the shoulder is a ball joint. So, we can imagine. So, let's say here is the torso. So, here's the ribcage. Here is the arm. And let's put a bit of more of our anatomical knowledge here. So, this here is the clavicle into the acromion process. And back here is the scapula. So, we need some sort of muscle that pulls the shoulder upwards. Boom. That's called the front deltoid. We need a muscle that pulls the shoulder upwards now. That's the side delt. And now we need a muscle to pull the arm backwards. That's the rear delt. Boom. So now we have the deltoid. So the deltoid moves the arm forward, moves the arm sideways, and moves the arm backwards. That's the job of the shoulder. Boom. That easy. But now you might be yelling at me, but the shoulder does more than that stuff, especially the arm. It does more than that stuff. It can also move forward, it can push stuff, it can pull stuff, and what about pulling downwards? Well, that's where you learn a bit more about anatomy. Right? So we know that this here is a small muscle, right? This is a really small muscle. And we know that not only does the arm go upwards, it also moves inwards, in towards the body. So we need something that does that. And that's where the pectoralis, the pecs, the chesticles, if you will, connect to the arm. Those pull the arms forward. These bring them up into the front upwards. This brings them out sideways, and the rear delt pulls them backwards. By just using a bit of critical thinking skills, I know for you artists, it's not exactly a forefront of your skill set, but please employ it. Please employ it. A bit of Googling and a bit of critical thinking gets you a very far way. Please.